Hey guys, I imagine just about everyone watching this video that's a pool player is familiar with what I've always just called the beginner system. Some people may have other terms, or you may have small children watching this with you. The beginner aiming system is the first one I was ever taught, probably the first one a lot of people were ever taught. My dad basically said, "Here, Abe, this is how you aim, now leave me alone," that type of thing. Gonna shoot this 14 in his pocket. Find a spot on the 14 directly across my pocket and aim at that spot. Not the ghost ball. That's like advanced stuff. But finding that spot on the 14, keeping it in my mind, and aim at that spot. And this is perfectly fine for a little kid just starting out, just wants to make a ball every now and then. Perfectly fine. As pool players progress and get better, they start to realize, hey, the only way I can hit that spot on that 8 by aiming at it is if I'm straight in. If I'm over here, for example, and I go and I find my spot on that 8, and I keep it in mind, and I aim at that spot, that's what happens. Pool players know this, and you don't have to have played for very long to figure that part out. The thing about this method, though, that I think is pretty cool is, like every other method, the inner pool player helps to make up the difference between, I don't know, fiction and reality, I guess, fiction and nonfiction. So if I have the right frame of mind, mental attitude, I can shoot this 8 with that beginner method. I can find this point, come over here, feel like I'm aiming the cue ball at that point. And what happened is my inner pool player said, "Oh, no, that's not going to go in, Dave, but you're pretty close. I'll go ahead and make up the difference." This happens a lot. This happens, I believe, on just about every aiming system or method that's out there. I know I've said before, and I've probably made a couple of enemies, but I believe that every aiming system or method in the universe for playing pool is only accurate on a straight in shot with no side spin. Just like the one that I did a little bit ago. I can do the beginner method on this. I can do ghost ball on this. I can do double the distance on this. Whatever method I want to use, it can be completely accurate on a straight in shot with no side spin. An accidental side spin on that. But that's because I have old eyes. As soon as you get off of straight in, as soon as you decide you're going to put side spin on the ball, left English, right English, that aiming system is no longer accurate. It's close, and some systems are closer than others, but it's still just close. And it's up to your inner pool player to make up the difference, again, between fiction and nonfiction. Well, this would be good if you're going to hit it straight with no English, Dave, but you're putting right English on it. So you can't be aiming at that spot anymore, but I'll go ahead and make up the difference for you. This happens. It happens a lot more with the beginner method than I ever really thought that it did. I knew that it happened, but the extent to which it happens is pretty, well, it's pretty cool. So, like I said, I can find the spot on the 14 and really and truly feel like that's what I'm aiming at. But what I'm really aiming at is not that contact point. I mean, in that case, off to the left of that contact point, so it hits the ball correctly. But I didn't do that. My inner pool player took care of that part for me. Pretty cool. About, oh man, what am I? I'm 59 now. Let's call it 30 years ago, when dinosaurs ruled the earth. I was at a little bar in Jeffersonville, Indiana. My sister was bartending when she was on a break. Hey, let's play a game of pool. This was pretty much like the highlight of my pool playing days. And my sister was absolutely not a pool player at all. And I saw that fairly quickly in the way that she was lining up her shots. She was lining up all of her shots like that. She was making. She ran the table on me. I broke dry in that game. She ran the table on me. She has never let me live that down. To this day, she go, "Hey Dave, long time no see. Remember that time I ran the table on you?" That's maybe a little bit of an exaggeration. But still, even as a non-pool player, she was still, a reasonably intelligent human being that understood that aiming at a spot, a round ball with another round ball, you're not going to hit it unless you're straight in. Part of her realized that. Part of her subconscious realized that and made up the difference. So her inner pool player was, "Hey, you're pretty close. Let me go ahead and make that for you. Thanks for getting me so close." That type of thing. Now, this particular aiming method, as far as as I'm concerned, it does break down completely after a while. After, at a certain angle, my inner pool player no longer says, "Well, you got it close. Let me make it for you." He says, "You suck." And I guess it depends on the dirtiness of the balls, the distance of the shot, things like that. If I'm out here, I absolutely can't use that beginner method on this 9. Because again, my inner pool player is like, "You're not even close. What are you trying to do? Bank this ball?" He's not going to help me with the shot. And I'm going to, if I try to use the beginner method, aim at this contact point on the 9, to put it in there, no. I'm going to probably put it about right here instead. But get me, and I don't know the angle, maybe this is like about a 30-degree shot. About a 30-degree shot, I can find the spot. Well, don't know it. On the 9, keep that in my head. Again, feel like I'm aiming at that spot. But in reality, my inner pool player helped me to help to make up the difference. Every aiming method breaks down, some sooner than others. This one breaks down fairly quickly at angles. They all break down. They all have intuition, inner pool player stuff, whatever, to help you still help you make the ball. And the more experienced and the better player you are overall, the better your inner pool player is overall as well. One of the things that, well, a lot of things bug me, and it's only going to get worse as I get older, I'm sure, is that players, a lot of people will say, my aiming system is the greatest in the world, and they use it clearly, or they wouldn't say that, and they shoot well, or they wouldn't say that. They wouldn't say it was the greatest. But it's almost like they're not giving themselves any credit whatsoever. Some of the biggest offenders in that category, from my perspective, are the pivoting people. If you pivot, that's all you have to do. And as I've said before, I don't think they're giving themselves enough credit. They're a better player than they're willing to admit. They'll say, "Oh, the only reason I'm any good is because I pivot correctly." And I'll say, "Yeah, you did that right. But you also had to make up for the side spin and the cut-induced throw and all this other stuff that your system doesn't even acknowledge exists." So, I don't know. It's just one of those things that's always bugged me. I forgot to aim at the at the contact point there. And then I remembered and it was too late. That's what's supposed to happen when you aim at the beginner spot. That is what is supposed to happen. And I think I just shot too quickly that time. My own interpool player didn't have time to say, "Hey, on, let me make this for you." I think, or maybe I just missed. That does happen. I don't like it when I scratch. There's a whole lot else that I want to say about this. Just as it's cool. I think it's cool the way interpool players, subconscious minds, whatever you want to call it, can make up those differences between your aiming system and reality. And they can do that a lot of it without even realizing what's happening. So, if I hadn't thought about the fact that my interpool player just helped me make that ball, I might be thinking, oh, beginner method is the greatest system in the world. You'll look how good I'm shooting. But in reality, it's a combination of whatever aiming method I'm using, plus my interpool player and the experience that my interpool player has gotten over the years, both from playing pool and just from being a human being. That's like I said, the case of my sister. She was not a pool player, but she was a human being. And she understood, part of her mind understood that the only way she could hit that contact point by aiming at it was if it was straight in. This one is straight in. It's just a stroke straight, which is easier said than done for me sometimes. But yeah, just because something is called the beginner method, I call it that, doesn't mean that it's only for beginners and you can throw it away. Because every system has its flaws. Every system does break down at some point. I like the beginner method because it's easy to see, and when it's close enough to straight in, at shallow enough cuts, it's easy to do as long as I let my interpool player help. I was imagining that there was a perfect pool playing robot. And I'm not talking about like one of the European Mosconi Cup players or whatever. A perfect pool playing robot. And you taught it the beginner method. You taught it, hey, find this point on the 15. Now come over here. Now aim straight at that point on the 15. That's what your robot is going to do. Your robot doesn't have an interpool player. Teach your robot pivot or ghost ball or anything on a cut or using side spin. That system might have broken down enough to where the pocket would accept the ball. Now the pockets are wider than the balls, so it's not all doom and gloom at that point. But if you have any shot that is not straight in and or you're using side spin, any shot, and you make that shot, part of that was you. Because the robot wouldn't have done that. The robot doesn't have that interpool player. I'm going to pivot this shot. And I did. And my interpool player noticed the fact that I wasn't taking into account cut-induced throw, which was going to try to push the 15 this way. Instead, he helped me out, put it in a hard pocket. This is very cool, and it's not meant to say, oh man, you know, aiming systems all suck, and your aiming system especially sucks. And I'm not trying to say that. I never have tried to say that. I'm just trying to say it's you. You're the one shooting. Your interpool player is the one shooting. All your aiming systems and methods and stuff like that can get you close. But if it's not straight in and or no side spin, close is all it's going to get you. And it's up to you to get the rest of the way. It's just my opinion, but I'm entitled. It is my channel. Thanks, guys.